I know some of you guys out there, you're gonna hate this. Has outfitted this thing to stunt ride it.
Woo, this sounds ridiculous!
All right guys, welcome back to another episode on Proven Power Cycles. For those who don't know me, my name is Eric. I'm the tuner here. There's Lewis. Yeah. Oh wait, it's not focusing on Lewis. There it is. Because you're black. So today, this is for you Harley owners out there. We have an 06 Harley Dyna. This thing is not your typical Harley, guys. This guy, this particular client, has outfitted this thing to stunt ride it. And I gotta say, I'm actually a pretty big fan of what he's done. I know some of you guys out there, you're gonna hate this, which is cool. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. We don't really care, but anyway. Yeah, I can't judge. Yeah, we're in a weird age right now, so why not? So anyway, he's got these, it looks like this Renthal riser set up, which is wild. Now, I'm not a big stunt guy, so I don't know a lot about the stunt world. For those of you guys who do stunt, please comment down below and tell us what you guys think of this setup. I know the Harleys are becoming like a new thing, like the bobbers and all that. I know people are getting into it. Well, I shouldn't say a new thing, so I'm sure some of you out there are gonna be like, it's not new, we've been doing it since blah, blah. But anyway, it's becoming a much, much bigger fad, and these guys are getting much more into it, and I gotta say, I'm a fan. I love it. I love this layout. I think it looks so dope. He's got a 2-to-1 Bassani here. I think he said he had this Arlen ness air breather here. So we're gonna see what it does. Again, I'm not a big specialist on Harley, but I am a tuning specialist and I know how to tune. So we do a lot of tuning for a lot of different types of bikes. For those of you who really know our channel, I'm sure you've seen a few different types of styles. And man, back at the old shop, actually, we had the car dyno too. So we'd put some oddball shit on there just to tune it. I had like a 3-wheeler once. It was kind of crazy, man. But anyway, yeah, we've done some crazy tunes. But anyway, this is what we're gonna do today, and I'm gonna get fired up. I'm gonna get it started here, rather. The last thing I need to hook up is my inductive pickup, so we can monitor our torque and RPMs, and then we're gonna get started. Really excited. This is gonna be a cool episode. We got it all done. Looking good. It's a good looking bike. All right guys, so the Dyna left. They came and picked up the bike, and well, they picked up a bike a little while ago. They seem pretty happy with it, but we're gonna go over the numbers now and check out to see the before and afters. All right, now keep in mind, this is an 88. It's a small, this is a very small motor in the Harley world, so keep that in mind when we're looking at these numbers. All right, and then, again, this bike is also used primarily for stunting, so for the most part they want that low end hit. They want the low end, they want the torque to come in real early, real strong. So that's primarily the focus of this bike for the most part. So let's go over the numbers and see how it played out. First, let's look at the baseline. All right, so the bike came in making 66 wheel, almost 67 wheel horsepower, and almost 77 foot-pounds of torque. All right. Now, this is very, very common with the smaller displacement Harley engines, especially some of the older style engines. They obviously were not powerhouses. They mainly are built for cruising, right? Now, what I also wanted to show you guys was, typically I like to tune per cylinder with the Harley Davidsons. Now, these are pretty similar because we also have a 2-to-1 exhaust, all right? Now, with the true dual system, we'll see, typically I'll see a little bit more drastic of a difference between the front versus the rear. But since this is a 2-to-1, we typically see very similar but there's also other differences in the map files in partial throttle settings, not necessarily in the full throttle settings. But with that being said, I wanted to show you guys real quick. So we have, this is our first cylinder, or our front cylinder, and then we have our rear cylinder, which is going to be down here, okay? So these are two different AFR graphs here, and then this is our horsepower and torque, all right? Now if we look, the front cylinder actually got considerably richer. So we have a 12.44 for our AFR on the stab versus a 13.0 on the rear on the stab, okay? Let me interject really quickly. If you guys are getting tuned and they only stick one sniffer in that tailpipe, or they're only getting one reading and they're creating one map, I'm not gonna say it's a major issue, but it can create major issues down the line, okay? And the reason why I'm saying that is reverting back to this AFR. When you have this 13.0 right here, and then you have a 12.44 right here, when you're looking at these two different numbers, what it's gonna do, if you only have a single sniffer, it's gonna take both of these numbers and give you the average between the two, all right? And if you guys are out there and you guys are new tuners, go ahead, I'll teach you guys a little something real quick. But it's gonna average out these two numbers. So if you look at these two numbers, rough math, let's say you're gonna get around a 12.7 on a combined AFR, okay? So as a tuner, you're gonna wanna pull about 5% or so, whatever number you're shooting for, you're gonna pull out X amount of percentage on the fuel, all right? With that being said, if you pull, let's say 5, 6, 7, let's say you're targeting more for this number. Well, if you pull out that 6 or 7%, now your cylinder 2, your rear cylinder, which is a little bit more vital as far as keeping it within the temperature range, that, you know, a good temperature range, now you're gonna burn that cylinder very, well, not very, but you're gonna burn it more on the lean side of things. Now we're also at a lower RPM, so that's not as detrimental. But let's say this happened at a higher RPM where you're seeing a lot of heat, a lot of cylinder heat, right? Well, if you were to do that same type of movement, let's say 6%, 7%, now, whereas it used to be kind of as far as your AFRs go, and it's not a big of a deal, now you're at this high temperature, high heat, high RPM, now you're gonna run that rear cylinder lean, or on a leaner side. Now you're like, hey, you're in the danger zone. You're starting to get to a point where you can create danger. But because you're only running that single sniffer, it's gonna look on the dyno chart, you're gonna look like, hey, you're in a good safe range, everything looks great. Little did you know that you're running that rear cylinder very lean, and that front cylinder is gonna be more accurate or closer to in spec, right? So again, keep that in your mind. Whenever people call and they have a Harley Davidson or Ducatis, or really any of the V-twin style stuff, V-twin, V4s, any of those styles, typically when I hear those things, I'm like, hey look, honestly, the best way to do this is to tune it per cylinder. We offer the single map, if you will, but we highly recommend tuning it per cylinder, and more or less, this is why. Because of those AFR differences, we don't know, you know, if we're getting a good average or not. Here's another example, and I'll say this real quick while before we continue. One time we had a bike where we tested this theory, and one of the cylinders was at like a 12.0 AFR, super rich. The other cylinder was like 13.8, but we ran a single sniffer and it showed 12.8 AFR. Well, we were like, all right, well, let's lean it out 3-4%. Well, we leaned it out. Now you have one cylinder that was reading at like a 14.2 AFR, and then the other one was at like still like a low mid 12. So again, at the end of the day, it was kind of one of those things where it's like both cylinders weren't even close to being in spec, but the average looked good. So that was the point at which I was telling the Harley Davidson owners, at least at the time, and Ducatis, but at the time it was a Harley Davidson, and that's when I kind of told them, hey look guys, we really recommend splitting these cylinders apart for that reason exactly right there. So let's continue on with the numbers real quick. All in all, the AFRs weren't terrible. We did run a little lean, so here's a 13.8 on the front and a 13.4 on the rear. Similar here through the mid-range. We see a little bit of a rich spot here, a little bit, not bad, that's actually pretty good. And then up here, we start getting very, very rich again. And Harley does this on purpose a lot, just to kind of help. They're gonna put a very, very safe tune in there. I mean, 12.2, we're very, very rich up top. 12.5, that's not horrible, but again, it's more on the richer side of things. Safe, safe, safe. That's what they shoot for, is just super safe. So now with the new mapping, you can see everything is much more flatline. We don't have a rich spot up top. This is also nice and smooth, cylinder 1 and cylinder 2. We're still in a nice, safe AFR ranges. Everything is looking nice and smooth, right? So let's go to the horsepower and torque graph now. So all in all, at, well, I don't want to say a lower low RPM, but at a lower RPM, let's take a 3000. This is a very common area, around 2500 to 3500. It's a very, very common area that these guys are going to see. That's kind of like that acceleration point. We picked up 4 foot-pounds of torque, and we picked up 2 horsepower. Now I know it doesn't sound anything crazy, but whenever you're looking at this torque number, we always want to be around a 6% rate of change, and we're actually right around that 6%, maybe a little bit north of 6%, but all in all, we're hitting solid gains there. Here's 3600 RPM, same thing, we're hitting about a 5-wheel jump, but again, based on where we're at, we're a little bit over our 6%, we're probably closer to about 7% on our rate of change, and about 3, again, still 3. The horsepower was pretty consecutive gains all the way up until we get to this top RPM here. So whenever we start shooting for the higher RPM, we are picking up around 6 foot-pound of torque and about 6 horsepower or so, which again, guys, we're around the 8%, 9% now on the rate of change. So we're on a higher, yeah, we're actually, no, I'm sorry, we're at around a 10% rate of change. So this higher RPM is going to feel fantastic. We've also increased the RPMs about 250 RPM over stock, just to give him that extra little bit of freedom to rev the bike out, depending on what he's trying to do. So again, we started around 66.8, around 67. We ended at 73 wheel horsepower with 81 foot-pound of torque. Again, this number is pretty damn good all in all. And again, I know that this is going to mean more to him than really the horsepower number, just based on what the bike is going to be being used for. So all in all, I'm happy with these results. Again, it's a small motor. It's not a huge motor. We're not talking about a 117, a 114. We're not talking about any of those. This is an 88. It's a small motor, small displacement. It was stock motor. It just had the filter and the 2-to-1 Bassani on it. So again, guys, I'm happy with these gains. It's really good. It is a Harley. Keep that in mind. I know I normally cater to you sport bike guys, but all in all, I'm happy with these numbers for this Dyna. It's a cool bike as all get out. Honestly, I'm really excited. I'm really happy that I got to do it. I always like doing some things that are different from the ordinary, and the bike came out pretty cool, I think. So comment down below. Tell us if you guys have a Harley, if you have an 88 or what have you. Tell us your dyno numbers. Tell us if you guys are having any issues with your bike. If you're having any tuning issues, let us know. The bike came out great. I'm really happy with it. He has no issues. We haven't heard anything negative back, at least I should say. And yeah, I believe they're pretty happy with the bike. So comment down below, guys. Tell us what you think about the video. Tell us what you think if you guys got a Harley. If you have a 117, 114, whatever, let us know. 107s, we tune all that jazz. So if you guys have any inquiries, you can also hit us up on our website at provenpowercycles.com, or give us a shout at 727-256-0001, and we'll be happy to help you guys or answer any questions you guys may have for us. And I believe that's going to be it. So we're going to go ahead and sign off. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching the video. Leave us some feedback if you can, please. We appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button, and see you on another episode.